So I want to start with the financial crisis story. Typically, when I've talked about financial crisis on the show, I've referred to the housing market or I referred to student loan debt, right? And those are still factors. But someone sent this to me yesterday that there's another issue that's happening with the financial crisis that may not actually be receiving enough attention. So I have an article here with some graphs I want to show you, and I also have a quick video I want to show you about this as well. Some of you may have heard of the repo man. The repo man is the man to come and repossess your car. Your car is usually repossessed because you cannot continue to pay the car payments. Sometimes the cars have been repossessed because there's been boots that have been put onto people's cars for not paying parking tickets, and then it's a whole process to get your car back. So my car was booted one time. This was a couple years ago. It's a whole process that you have to go through to get your car back. If you get a boot on it, or if they tow it away with the boot on it, you have to pay for them to cut the boot off. You have to pay the tow truck company who towed the car, and you have to pay the parking ticket. So I think when it happened to me, and it happened to me because I had a lot of parking tickets in Boston, and it was one of those things where I was like, I will pay it next time, and time went by, and next thing I knew, you only need 5. So if you get 5, then they will come and put a boot on your car and they'll tow your car. So anyway, I ended up paying, I think, almost $500. Yeah. It's an expensive thing if it happens to you. But I'm here to tell you, if it happened to me, it can happen to you. But the car repossession issue is actually bigger than people may realize. I want to get into this article here. With car repossessions and home foreclosures rising, some Americans are living on a financial cliff. Now, everybody pay attention to this. A growing number of Americans have found themselves strapped for cash and looking for financial relief as the U.S. economy slows down. And you can see there's the card there. A 57-year-old single mother living in East Hartford, Connecticut, Lesage needs to drive herself to medical appointments for injuries on her legs and to pick up her teenage daughter, who often suffers from seizures from school. I have to go pick her up. Without the vehicle, she adds, I wouldn't be able to do that. Last year, Lesage was told her car was at risk of repossession after she fell behind on payments. For me, every penny counts. And just to lose a couple of cents on gas is devastating sometimes. Lesage is among a growing number of Americans who have found themselves confronting financial hardship as the U.S. economy has slowed. On Thursday, the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis reported gross domestic product fell to 1.1% in the first quarter, the lowest reading in 9 months. The GDP is the value of the final goods and services produced in the country and a strong indicator of how healthy the U.S. economy is. Strapped for cash, the slowdown is starting to show in Americans' personal finances. According to a recent survey from Bankrate, 49% of U.S. adults have less savings compared to a year ago. 10% of those surveyed said they have no savings at all. So I want to pause here for just a second. What this means is that a lot of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And if you don't have any savings and you have something happen, like let's say your car is in danger of being repossessed, or your car breaks down and you have to pay for repairs, or you have a medical expense that you need to pay for. This is where these people would typically get into trouble if they don't have any savings on the side, right? So what often happens? 2 things. 1, they will forego payments on another bill to take care of the car issue, especially if they need the car to get to work, or the medical issue. 2, people will put it on credit cards if you have a credit card, but this will lead to credit card debt as well. So you're really not getting yourself out of the debt, right? And 3, I lied, there's 3. 3, payday loan places. Now, these places, I have complained about them before because they really are just loan sharks. It's a ripoff, it's a scam, and they prey on people who are vulnerable and really need cash right away. So oftentimes that'll happen. People will go to the payday loan place to get the money that they need to take care of that unexpected expense. And then when you get paid again, you have to go back and you have to pay what you borrowed, but you also have to pay more on top of that, right? That's how those companies make money. But payday loan places are a scam. So this is something to think about when people don't have savings. Let's go down to here, savings slump. After jumping to nearly 34% during the pandemic, the personal saving rate is now roughly an eighth of that. I want to show you here. We'll start with 2020 and you'll see more people had more savings then. But as we go down here, 2021, 2022, and we get to 2023, you can see there's a huge decrease in reference to savings for Americans in this country in 2023 when you compare it to 2022, 2021, and 2020. Let's go down here. Meanwhile, home foreclosure filings have begun to surge, according to data from ATTOM, a property analytics company. U.S. foreclosure filings totaled 95,712 in the first quarter of 2023. That's 6% higher than in the previous quarter and 22% higher than a year ago. Now, this reminds me of 2008. Here we go again with the housing. And I warned people that this was coming. Here we go again with the housing crisis. So more Americans are foreclosing on their homes once again. March alone saw 36,617 U.S. properties in foreclosure, a 20% increase compared to February and 10% higher than a year ago. It was the 23rd consecutive month with a year-over-year increase in foreclosure activity. Look at this. Housing debt is up across multiple categories, reaching 16.9 trillion in quarter 4 of 2022. So we're going to scooch over these by color. So blue is mortgage, green is auto loan, yellow is credit card debt, orange is student loan debt, and gray is other. So I'm assuming like if you had medical debt, that would be included in the gray category, right? So this is starting from 2004 and going to the end of 2022. Let's start the back. Let's start with other. So you can see the difference here with other, right? Like it's obviously it has increased. And again, I think I would include medical debt in that under other. Student loan debt. Of course, we know that one was going to increase. That one soared. Credit card debt. Credit card debt is lower than student loan debt and other. But a lot of times the credit card debt is coming from the fact that people don't have money to pay for these other expenses, right? So they're putting things on their credit card. And then there's the auto loan, which is green. Again, this is 2004 to the end of 2022. And then you'll see the big one here, the mortgage debt. So household debt is increasing, again, reaching to 16.9 trillion in quarter 4 of 2022. In an emailed statement, Adam CEO Rob Barber noted some of the increase in foreclosure activity can be explained by lenders working through a backlog that had built up while the pandemic era federal foreclosure moratorium was in place. That pause ended in July of 2021. Now, remember, I want to connect this to the homelessness crisis too, because I also told you that the homeless rate has increased by 25% since Joe Biden has been president. So all of this is connected, all of it. By that point, he said an estimated 2 million homeowners had fallen behind on their home loans amid job losses and other hardships brought on by the pandemic. Now, see, this would not have been a problem if the U.S. would have done what New Zealand did. If the U.S., instead of giving us those measly stimulus checks as if that was supposed to be a life-changing thing, if the U.S. government would have given people monthly recurring checks during the pandemic, then people wouldn't have fallen behind. Overall, Barber said the increase since then hasn't been nearly as severe as some economists and industries experts expected. Many homeowners benefited from a strong pandemic-era economic rebound, one that included a year-long home buying spree during a period of low interest rates. Unemployment also remains at historic lows. The relative job stability has allowed many delinquent homeowners to catch up on mortgage payments. But again, when they talk about the unemployment rate, I do want to remind you, Joe Biden removed people from unemployment. So don't forget that. So obviously, if you're kicking people off of unemployment, of course, the rates are going to decrease. You also have to know who is not included when we talk about unemployment rates. So like if you're an adult, but you live with your parents, you're not included in that unemployment rate. This is something to know. They're looking at people who are head of household. So if you're 24 years old, let's say you just graduated college, you moved back in with your parents and you're applying to jobs, but you don't have a job yet. A lot of people went through that. You're not considered in the unemployment rate because you're not the head of household. That's why I always say the unemployment rate is actually higher than what they say it is. As home prices have skyrocketed over the past couple of years, homeowner equity has increased. Something Barber said has provided an incentive for delinquent homeowners to find a way to get back up to date on their loans. Revolving credit, the bulk of which is credit card debt, has reached all decade highs. Starting with 2013, you will see if we go to 2023, look at how high credit card debt is now. And that's because, again, during the pandemic, for those who lost their jobs, again, how did people pay for things? How did some people pay their electric bill, right? They put these things on their credit cards. So that's part of it. But this is what happens a lot of times when people are strapped for cash. And there's one more piece I want to show you here before we go to the video. Oh, where did I go? Oh, here we go. Because I want to tell you about where you can find help. Help is indeed available for homeowners, said Sarah Bowling Mancini, a senior staff attorney at the nonprofit National Consumer Law Center. Some of those resources include the Homeowners Assistance Fund, a pandemic support program. Mancini said homeowners should be proactive in talking to their lender or mortgage servicer, most of which have forbearance programs available that can help distressed homeowners buy some time. So I did want to let you know about that. Now, we're going to get back to the car repossession issue because I don't think a lot of people know this is happening. I didn't know about this until it was David who actually sent this to me. And this is about millions of cars just repossessed, the car crisis of 2023. And again, this video was posted 1 month ago, but this again goes to show you that people are still strapped for cash. Listen to this clip.
Hey, what's up guys? John here. Over 200,000 cars per month are now being repossessed. And roughly
200,000 vehicles are now being repossessed.
Roughly 8% of all car loans are more than 90 days delinquent.
We're seeing a pretty big uptick in repossessions.
When you say dramatic uptick, can you put some numbers behind that?
Yeah, I think this is just for the business that we do, right? We're seeing it grow about 5% every month.
We are witnessing what I believe is going to be one of the greatest rug pulls in the auto market in U.S. history. Currently, we are already seeing a dramatic rise in these repossessions as interest rates continue to rise. And what we are likely going to continue to see is this situation right here, these delinquencies rising past the extent of which we saw during the great financial crisis in 2006, 2007, and 2008. But what I'm going to show you next is going to blow your mind. If you have a car or you're thinking about buying a new car, here's exactly what's happening. Please hit the like button. When you hit the like button, YouTube is going to share this content, educate more people about what's really going on. You know what's very fascinating is 2019, auto vehicles, their payments about $300 a month for a used car. 360, 370, 323. That was the normal back then. And that was only 4 years ago. New cars, about $500, right? Nationwide, about $500, $550. Now,
So that's important to note, guys.
what we're seeing is the average monthly payment, $725 per month. $725 per month, with roughly 17% of every single car you see on the road with an auto loan being over $1,000 a month just on their auto payment, not including car insurance, gas, nothing. $1,000 a month.
Let me pause there for a second because I've never owned a brand new car. I've always had used cars my whole life. So I've never had a car payment that's been over, I think the highest was like $200 a month. So to me, the fact that people are having car payments that are over $700, that's insane to me. Like that's someone's half of the rent, $700. That's crazy, you guys. So the auto industry here, what they're doing, I believe, is they've been jacking up these payments. Remember, the payments actually come from the banks, but they have been jacking up those prices for the auto loans, almost in a sense like to make up for the money that they lost during the pandemic. Because let's be real, how many people were going out buying brand new cars during the pandemic in 2020? How many people were doing that? So it almost seems like they increased the price of the auto loans, at least the monthly payment, to make up for that. But that is insane for someone to have to pay $700 a month for what is this car? What is this car? A Mercedes? It's wild.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And most vehicles, the average, this is what's insane. The average auto loan right now is 125% loan to value. So if the car is worth, let's just call it $50,000, they have $62,500 essentially in existing debt on this. So that's pretty crazy, right? It's pretty crazy. Now you might ask, how is that possible? How is that happening? It's very simple. They'll see a sign on the side of the road, or they'll see an ad online, and they'll go there and say, look, we're going to roll in taxes, tags, dealer fees. We're going to roll everything into the loan, and you just sign here. And so back in 2020 and 2021, when there was unlimited stimulus, PPP loans, so much money flowing around, everyone felt rich, crypto, stocks, everything was doing great, Airbnb, people were making money hand over fist. And so for someone to sign on the dotted line for, an $800, $900, $1,000 car payment didn't really make a big deal. Wasn't a big problem. But now we're seeing the entire economy coming back to reality, and it's a really, really big issue for a lot of these borrowers. And you're seeing it right now with the Fed data showing consumer savings rate plummeting to the great financial crisis levels. That's a very, very, very big problem, because during the great financial crisis, inflation was 2%, 3%. It wasn't a horrible situation like we're in now, where many people would say that inflation might be 15% or 20%.
Nope.
Well, as that's continuing to happen, consumers, 69% of Americans in urban areas are living paycheck to paycheck. 69%. The job market for better educated and higher skilled workers has come to a grinding halt. Now, what many people don't realize, a lot of people talking about student loans, a lot of people talking about the housing market, but the most important market is going to be the auto market, because without a car, no one can work.
And let's pause right there. And this brings up the issue of public transportation. Because one of the reasons why, I am a strong advocate for public transportation, and I think every city in this country should have access to public transportation, is because I know what it's like not to have a car. There was a time when I didn't have a car, and I lived in South Carolina, and we did not have public transportation. And so I had to either get a ride from someone, or I would walk to work. Not everybody can afford a vehicle. This is just the reality. And one of the things, like living in the city, like when I lived in New York City, this was not an issue. In fact, when I lived in New York City, most people I knew didn't own a car. Most people I knew just took the subway, right? A lot of people I know that live in Boston don't own a car. They just take the subway. But the problem that we have, particularly in this country, is that we don't have access to public transportation across the board. So if you live in an area that doesn't have public transportation, you need a vehicle. So if you lose your car, if your car is repossessed, you are screwed. What are you supposed to do? So nowadays you can take Uber, right? Or you can take Lyft. You can take Uber or Lyft, but that's expensive and it adds up. Imagine if you have to take Uber and Lyft every day back and forth to work. Some people have to do that. Some people do that.
And without working, obviously you're not going to be able to pay rent, you're not going to be able to pay everything else. It's the first domino to fall. And this is now really starting to open itself up to being one of the biggest bubbles in U.S. history. Car insurance rates have also increased roughly 14% in 2023. So you think about it. In 2006, 2007, even, $300, $400 car payment, not a big deal back then. You had affordable car insurance, $50 a month, $75 a month. Now you're seeing $150, $200 a month car insurance, sky high monthly payment on the vehicle, sky high gas prices, everything is through the roof. Average person is probably spending $1,500 a month to drive a car.
And why? And this is another question I want to ask you guys. Why do you think the insurance rates are higher now? Are people having more accidents? Have the rate of accidents increased in the United States compared to 2006 or whatever? No, it's because, again, these companies are trying to make more money. Some of it is related to the pandemic, but some of it is just greed. I'm just keeping it real. So if you have a high insurance payment and you have a high car payment and gas is high right now because of inflation, if you're struggling or you're strapped for cash and it's time to pay bills, which one are you going to let go? You can only go so long without paying the electricity bill before they turn it off. You're going to have to try to find a way to pay your rent because you need a place over your head. So the car payments is usually probably one of the first ones to go.
It's unbelievable. You think about it, $725 just for the vehicle. You have $200, give or take, for the insurance. That's $925. Then maybe $50 a month or $50 a week for gas, right? So you're already now factoring in, $1125 plus repairs, maintenance, oil changes, things like that. And that's for the average person.
Yep.
That's for the average. 17% of a car payment over $1,000 a month. So if you start to look at this, it's a really, really big problem. Auto insurance premium drives 17% in 2023. Now, when you're looking at a situation like you saw in Hawaii, like you saw in Canada, these disasters that are happening, you see it in California, it's happening all over the place. What does this mean? It means insurance companies are suffering massive losses. And because of these losses, what are they going to do? They're going to push it on to consumers. So people with these car payments that they can barely afford now, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to maintain as it comes time to renew insurance. This is a very, very, very big problem right here. It says car insurance premiums are skyrocketing primarily due to rising auto parts and extreme weather.
Now, let me pause there. Would the auto parts issue, would this be such a problem if we still produced and made all of the auto parts in the United States? Yeah, we have inflation, everything is increased, but that's something I do want you to think about, especially depending on what type of vehicle you have. If you have like a BMW, you might have to get certain parts like imported, right? So that's something to think about. Now, some people may see this and just think, okay, well, people should not buy a new car, not buy expensive cars. The problem is, whether you buy a new car or a used car, this is still an issue. This is still an issue. I don't think the average American is trying to go buy a brand new expensive car. I think the average American is trying to buy a car that they can afford the monthly payments for. Yeah, there may be some people here and there that may purchase something that they may not be able to pay for because they just purchasing what they think is really nice or whatever. But for the most part, the average American is trying to get what they can afford, and they're trying to get a vehicle to get them from point A to point B. But these insurance companies, they're making a fortune, man.
Extreme weather. This is what's going to happen. Look at what gas prices were in 2019, 2018, 2017. $2 a gallon, $3 a gallon, not even $3. The highest, 2018, was $2.92, right? $2.92. Now you're going out, and how much is gas? $4, right? $3.98. So
in some places, $5 and $6. So if you guys want to see, I'm not going to play the entire video, but if you want to see the full video, It's called Millions of Cars Just Repossessed, Car Crisis of 2023. And that is, this is John Williams. So he talks a lot about, what's really happening with the economy. So definitely go check that out and see the full video. But the thing is, a lot of people in this country, most people in this country live in a place where they need a vehicle at least to get to work. And this is another thing. We can't always pick and choose where we're hired. So there are some people that have to commute an hour away or 30 minutes away, hour away, some people more than an hour. So you need that vehicle. So there are a lot of things that are happening here all at once. But the point that I want to stress is that we do have a financial crisis, regardless of what Joe Biden is telling you. And he's trying to make you think, oh, the economy is so much better and everything's great. A lot of people are lying to you right now, but you know the truth. You know what it's like when you look at your bank account. You know what it's like when you see the money leaving your wallet and you don't have anything left. You know what's really going on out there. So what I'm saying is this. When people use the argument today and they say that Joe Biden created all these jobs, companies are increasing salaries. Like I saw postings for now they want like admin assistants. Some of these companies are willing to pay $40 an hour, right? Which means they could have done that all along. But anyway, does that really matter in the context of things if everything else has increased? That also includes health insurance premiums too. So when you add all those things together, are you really making as much as you think you are? So we have a problem. And a lot of people aren't talking about it. A lot of people are screaming Joe Biden's talking points and they're saying Joe Biden's doing great things for the economy. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. It's not just the housing issue. It's not just the housing crisis. It's not just the student loan debt crisis. We also have a car repossession crisis happening in this country. And I think a lot of people don't know about it. Let's go to some of the comments. Thank you for the super chat, Roger. Did you put it off because your paycheck was under water? Donna says, Sabrina, did all the people who lost their jobs refusing to get a jab get rehired like they did the police in New York? I have no idea. I know at my former employer, it was required. I don't know if it's still required there now. I mean, I don't work at BU anymore, but it was required at BU. Notary says, I keep hearing tow truck taking back cars lately. It sucks. EMK, it's a scam. The insurance companies are bribing the politicians to not switch the game through the campaign donations. And Marco says, we need a co-op version of all these companies, cars and insurance. I agree. Let's go to that comment on Rockfin, Eric. Thank you so much for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. 12 trillion mortgage debt, 1.8 trillion student debt, 1.5 trillion auto loan debt, 1 trillion credit card debt. The answer to this, set the minimum wage to stay permanently above cost of living or inflation, whichever one is higher to make it dynamic. Give small to medium-sized businesses 85% to 100% tax rebate subsidy to cover labor costs. Also, outlaw speculation and charter public banks to boost credit unions. And thank you for this as well. Repossession literally happened to me due to unpaid parking tickets I couldn't pay with a paycheck under H2O. The other car I was renting from a third party to drive Uber in New York City. The car was costing me $2,400 to $2,800 a month just to drive Uber in New York City. Who deactivated my account 2 Wednesdays ago? On that Long Island RR to Queens, then back to start new driving job in 2 hours for Revel Transit, New York City, W-2 with benefits. Wish me luck. Well, good luck there, Roger. Good luck. And thank you for this as well. Yes, it is costing me money to make money driving Uber. Yeah. That's the thing. That's another thing too. If you want to work for Uber and you don't have a car. And thank you for the super chat, Delthea. A big problem is the business practices of JIT, just in time inventory. The idea being that you save costs by not having to store inventory. It works as long as your delivery lines aren't stopped. Interesting.